Question number 6 of the PhilNITS FE afternoon portion of the exam. We are now in sub-question number 2, and in this question we are again going to work on the counting sort algorithm. And the way to answer this, based on what we need to do, is to look at the sample code, particularly this part in program step 3, because the instructions are telling us that we need to add a line of code after this part here, the assignment of n to whatever the answer to blank D would be. But we know that the answer for D and for E, they're the same. Index, bracket, score, bracket, I, bracket, bracket. And in this case, what we need to know is what would be the answer to the next step, which is G. If we look at the choices, we have here the choices where you got N as well. So that means that the first step here is gonna be used also by the second step. So what that means is the value that we get here will be used in whatever choice that we choose for blank G, because it also has the N here like this. Okay, so we can't just ignore the first step where it's saying that we are assigning whatever value for index, bracket, score, bracket, I, bracket, bracket to N. Okay, now again we have to remember that in this case there's been a change in the program, and it's pretty much because we added a line of code too, and the output is supposed to be the sorted input data would be in descending order. The example of the input data would be the exam scores. The way also that I did this was to look at how I worked on the other blanks for program step 3. And what I did then was to put the input arrays here and the output arrays here, and of course the index. And looking at the pattern, how we can find connections between these arrays. And again, the N would be the value that we get for the index array. And we know that the index array is going to base its input from the score array. Okay, so they're connected in that way, and from there we can find out the output array. Now in this case, what we need to do is to have the output arrays in descending order, where the values are in descending order, I mean. And again, also the question is telling us that there could be two output arrays. What that means is two sets of arrays where it could be in a stable form or unstable form. So we gotta choose whether it's the stable array or the unstable array. And what that means too, when we talk about stable, according to the description, is that a stable sort algorithm sorts the elements with the same value in the same order they appear in the input. Therefore, if we see the score in the input and it's the first instance that we see it, then that comes first in the output. If it's stable, okay, because sometimes you can get the same score like 9, and what we want would be the first one that we see would be the one in the output too, if we're talking about a stable sort algorithm. And if we are gonna choose the answer for blank G, then we just have to see if any of the answers would help us get to the output. Okay, So remember, we already have the n here, for example, based on the first step. And then we have to add the next step, which is for blank G. And if the input is 7 for the score and student number 11, so 11 and 7 here, and for the output it should go here, then we're going for the value after we do the line for G, where it's gonna pick this one, the fifth container starting from 0 for the output array. The thing is, if we see, if for example 9 minus n and our n right now is 3, then the answer would be 6. And we're going with 5, so that means that 9 minus n is incorrect. We know that the n is 3 right now because if we start with the input array like this, and the score is 7, and we know that the score value is going to be used by the index from the first step, then we're supposed to be here. And because we want to get to the one with the 11 and 7 again, then we need a 5. If we choose, for example, 11 minus n, 11 minus n, or 11 minus 3 gives us 8 and is not 5, it's wrong. 10 minus n, 10 minus 3 gives us 7, so it's wrong. And if we have the I here, for example, we're starting at 0. 0 plus 10 minus n is also incorrect. If we look at the other container where we got 12 and 8, we want to go to this one, 12 and 8. And to get to here, we need to have a value from the n 5, and then do this thing with the next line of code for G to get to 2. But if we again try out all the choices, like 10 minus n, 10 minus 5 gives us 5 and not 2. So turns out the output arrays is incorrect for stable. Now we look into the other possibility, which is unstable, and we can see that if we choose 9 minus n, which is letter A, then for the first one with the student number 11 score 7, we're gonna end up with the index that is the value for n, which is 3. And if we want to go to the unstable output array, where you got the 11, 7, 2, then from 3 here, we need to get a value that is gonna get us to 6. And so if we choose 9 minus n, then 9 minus 3 gives us 6, and so we land in the correct output. Again, this is unstable because we can have two scores, 9 and 9, the same scores, but because it's unstable, even though we see 14 first, we can put 19 first in the output, okay? Because they're both 9, 9, and 14 is the one that we see first if we're starting from 0 with the input array. And what we put here for the output is the one that we see after the student number 14, which is student number 19. Okay? If we are gonna try out the other numbers, like for example, the next one, 12 and 8, student number 12 and score 8, then we want to get to this one, 12 and 8, and If we look at the index, says here the score is 8, then we are gonna get 5 as the value for n, because again, index bracket score, bracket I bracket bracket, the score value is 5. I mean the score value is 8, and the index for 8, the value will be 5. And if we need to do another step for blank G, and if it's 9 minus n, 9 minus 5 give us 4, and that's why we are gonna land in the correct output array, and it's gonna be here. Now we can also try out the other ones just in case, but again, they'll give us incorrect answers for the output arrays. And in this case, like for example, I plus 10 minus n, if we're starting with 0, then this is pretty much b, 10 minus n, okay? So we can try out the other ones up to the third one, and still we get the correct answer for outer array. Therefore, the answer in this number is going to be A.